Okay, welcome back to another vid. This one's going to be a current gen pickup video. I did my Super Nintendo pickup vid. Was it at the end of October? Or was it early this month? Can't quite remember. But I do quite like the idea. I mean, I've done it before many times over the years, but I do quite like the idea maybe from here on in, regularly, maybe even all the time, doing the videos separate, or keeping the videos separately, so the current gen and the retro stuff. And then you know exactly what you're going to get. So if you like your retro, and you don't like your current gen, well, I guess you won't be watching this, and maybe vice versa. Maybe that's a good thing to do. Yet at the same time, I do quite like the surprise element, you know, of having everything in one vid. You don't know what you're going to see. There is that. I guess it depends, doesn't it? Does it really matter? It probably doesn't. But I do quite like the idea of it. So I'm doing it for this one, and we'll see. I may do it in the future. I may not. I may just mix it up like I've always done. So those last couple of minutes, I guess, or pushing couple of minutes, were pointless. Welcome back to another vid, pickups vid. So yeah, I've got 7 games altogether and a peripheral. The peripheral was quite expensive for what it is, but you know, it goes for a certain amount of money, and it's somewhat pointless because it's just cosmetic and aesthetic. It doesn't really do anything. Well, it doesn't do anything at all. But I mean, it does look quite nice. But we'll touch upon that in a bit. And yeah, and one game is a digital game only on the PlayStation 4, so I can't show it, but I'll talk about it a little bit. So let's start with the Xbox One games. And the first one that I've got is Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, if you watched a vlog that I did going back quite some time, well, not too long actually in the scheme of things, maybe a couple of months ago, whenever it was, I talked about and showed Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I really like. To date, it's absolutely my favourite Assassin's Creed game because I love that kind of era, that industrial era. The Victorian kind of London setting, the clothing, the attire, the etiquette, everything about it. I really, really liked it. So, and like it, you know, that period in history. So for me, that game was fantastic. You know, interacting with characters like Charles Dickens and Darwin and Alexander Graham Bell and Florence Nightingale, amongst others. Yeah, I really, really liked it. Now, I've kind of finished the game. There's many side quests left to do, but the main portion of the game I've kind of done. There's a load of DLC, and so that's a game I'm going to still be playing for quite some time. And of course, you can just roam around the game doing what you want, just buying things, just attacking the enemy, just for the fun of it, and yeah, just experiencing the environment. So I absolutely love it. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, a brilliant game. So I was always going to get this one. And like I say, this is Assassin's Creed Origins. It comes in this really nice steelbook as well. So let's take it out. So yeah, really glossy and, you know, hard-backed, of course, because it's a steel tin, and it comes with all the obvious stuff in there. So Assassin's Creed Origins is basically set in Egypt, ancient Egypt, and so the scenery's stunning. The pyramids look fantastic. Obviously, I'm playing it on an Xbox One X through a HDR 4K TV, so it looks even better. You know, the lighting's so bright, it's so vibrant. But ultimately, you know, at the end of the day, it's just an Assassin's Creed game. It plays somewhat similar to previous games, weirdly, in a strange kind of way. And I think it probably comes down to maybe the mechanics of the weapons that you're using. But in a very weird way, after only playing this for maybe a couple of hours so far, it seems to be a little bit more sluggish in control than, say, Syndicate, which it would appear as if it's a bit of a step backwards. But I wouldn't necessarily say that. It's more of like a sideward step, like a crab. It's not a backward step, it's not a forward step. Maybe it's just something I've just got to get used to. Different weaponry, a different setting, a different era, and therefore maybe a slightly different control scheme and mechanism, or control method to go with it. So over time, of course, the more you play it, the more I'll get used to it. But yeah, it looks very, very good. And it's the kind of game that will take, you know, years really to completely finish, much like Syndicate, which, like I say, I've finished the main campaign, but there's still so much to do. Now, this, as a result of coming with the Steelbook, is the Gold Edition. So this comes with the Season Pass and all the DLC and all that kind of stuff, much like what I did with Syndicate. So I've got all the DLC to look forward to in the future, things that have already been released and things that will be released in the future. So, but apart from that, it's just Assassin's Creed. If you don't like Assassin's Creed as a franchise and as a series, you're probably not going to like this. But if you do, then I guess you're going to like this. It's just vastly different to Syndicate, obviously, because it's not based in Victorian London, or like previous ones that were based wherever they were based. It's based in ancient Egypt, but I like the look of it, and I'm enjoying it so far. Also on the front, what you may see there in the top hand corner of the screen, it says 4K Ultra HD, HDR, Xbox One X enhanced. So we're starting to see a lot of these games, and this, remember, of course, is a cross-platform game. So we're starting to see a lot of games that are enhanced. I don't know how much, maybe marginally in some cases, but ultimately the fact it's enhanced is a good thing. So they're looking slightly better, maybe in some cases a lot better on the Xbox One X. So another justification for upgrading, if you like, to the Xbox One X. If you want. You know, I have and I like it, but the difference is there. That's without question. You can see it on YouTube vids. Make sure you're watching the video in 4K, of course, because you're not really going to see the proper results. And also, it's another thing entirely when you're watching it. And I've noticed myself, you know, it's all very well watching a 4K video on YouTube, but it's obviously not the same as seeing it in person. You know, because I mentioned this yesterday in my video, but when I was playing Forza 7 on this TV on the Xbox One X, I instantly noticed the brightness. You know, and the lights were off at the time as well because it was quite late at night, and the room just kind of just shone like never before, and it's basically as a result of the HDR 4K effects, essentially, from the television and from the Xbox One X. So it definitely makes a difference, but that's obvious. Of course it does. They're not going to lie about it, are they? So that's that. Now, the next game I've got, again, I've played this for maybe about an hour. It is very, very good, but I've just not played more because, you know, there's only so many hours in a day, isn't there? But I am enjoying it. And that game is Wolfenstein II, or Wolfenstein II, or Wolfenstein II, I guess it would be, if we want to be German. I'm quarter German as well. Little fact for you, my grandma from Dortmund. So I like Borussia Dortmund. But I also like Bayern Munich because they win everything. Got to be a glory hunter, obviously. So that aside, and isn't it weird? I mean, this is going off on a tangent now. I should save this for a football vid, and I'll sum this up, but now I've committed to it, I'm going to say it. Isn't it weird and ludicrous how in football they've got that kind of like grandparent rule? Because I could play for Germany. I could play, if I was a footballer, how ridiculous is that? I'm not German, but I could play for them. So stupid. I mean, I like to see them do well. Obviously, they're not a priority. But the whole grandparent rule is just obscene. We see it abused all the time with, you know, with English players playing for Ireland or Scotland or Jamaica, Nigeria, whatever. I'm only jealous because I'm not a rich footballer, obviously. But it is a bit of a silly rule, grandparent rule. Come on, do me a favour. But anyway, yeah, so Wolfenstein 2. It's a really good game. Now, I have played the previous ones. I haven't finished any of the other ones. And that was one thing that was kind of, I was wary of. I thought, should I really finish the previous one first? Or because there's been two, wasn't there? Was it First Blood or something? Or am I thinking of Rambo? I don't know, but it was something like that. And The Old Blood, maybe? Maybe that's what it was. There's two previous games, and I've played them a little bit, but I haven't finished them. And I did think, should I really be playing those and finishing them before starting this one? But I guess greed got the better of me. It's a brand new game that comes out. It's bright, it's shiny, it looks great. It's getting really good reviews. And yeah, it just got the better of me. I thought, no, I've got to get this. And I don't feel, having started this game and having therefore seen a little bit of how the ending of the previous game went, because it's sort of explained a little bit in this game, I don't feel like I've made a mistake. There's nothing stopping me going back and playing those games in the future. And I think I will, and I think I will enjoy them. But yeah, I really wanted to play this. It looked really, really good. Graphically, it's fantastic. Again, another one, so apologies if I already said it, I don't think I did. I know I said it for Assassin's Creed, but this is another which is enhanced for Xbox One X. And we're going to start seeing this a lot now in the future on these cross-platform games. But the only thing I'll really say about this, well, a couple of things. Firstly, let me just say that it made me laugh. And it's not a spoiler, because this happens within the first kind of 30 minutes of the game. But you start off controlling the main guy, whatever he's called. I think he's BJ or something, isn't it? I think that's what his name is. A bit bizarre, but there you are. And he's in a wheelchair. I have never, ever controlled a video game character, to my knowledge, in a wheelchair up until I played this game. So that was a first. And it doesn't last for long. It doesn't last for long until you're out of the wheelchair. Again, it's not a spoiler because it happens very, very early into the game. But when I first started it, I was like, what the hell is this? I honestly thought, is the game going to continue through however many levels of me controlling a bloke in a wheelchair? And I mean, I'm not being wheelchairist, but that just didn't appeal in the slightest. But yeah, it doesn't last for long. And it's actually quite fun while you're doing it, to a degree. It's awkward. Well, I say awkward, and control's kind of fine, but it's awkward in the sense that you've never experienced it before, so it's different, I guess, maybe more so than awkward. It's unique. So it's kind of funny that they've went with it. It kind of sums up the developers, really. They're kind of game for a laugh. They put these little quirks in, and yeah, it is very interesting that they've done that, and it's something a bit different, isn't it? But the only other thing I'll say as well is that there's several moments in the game, but also notably in the intro that kind of pans out. To the intro to the game as it's opening, like the cutscenes, if you like. And there's a couple of interactive moments, very minor interactive moments where you have to press like one button or move the camera. You can't really do anything else. But some very kind of, or not awkward, some very kind of uncomfortable moments. I'll leave it at that. I won't say what it is or what happens, but it makes you look at it, or made me look at it and think, is that necessary? I know it's just a game. I'm not one of those people, don't worry. But with that said, there's a couple of moments I did think, I'm not comfortable with this, and I kind of almost looked away. I almost looked away because it wasn't right. I know it's a game, but it's really close to the knuckle, a couple of things on this. But I guess it's kind of relevant in the sense that those things probably would have happened back then. And this obviously has got a sci-fi element as well. So it's basically a what if Nazi Germany had taken over America and had won the war. And this is set, I think, like 10 years after. 10 years after? 1961, so a little bit more than that. So after the war, imagine if Nazi Germany had taken over the world, essentially, and then they've got all this new technology in regards to robots and stuff which are knocking around. That's the kind of the premise behind the game. So it's kind of fascinating, a very fascinating kind of insight as to what could have happened. Maybe ignoring the sci-fi stuff's a little bit out there. But yeah, but a few uncomfortable moments, some of which maybe just would have happened back then. So what do? It's the way of life. It's what would have happened. It's history, but it makes it a little bit uncomfortable watching. But again, it's hard to explain. You're going to have to play it and watch it. Nothing outrageous, and it is just a game, as I keep saying. But close to the knuckle, close to the knuckle. But you know what you're going to get when you play those kind of games. And once again, it is just a game. So come on, let's not get too carried away. There is a big difference between reality and a video game. I know sometimes graphic, especially in this day and age, graphics are looking so good, obviously in comparison to what they were, and they're going to get even better because that's technology. And despite saying I'm not one of those people who complains about the gruesomeness and the graphicness and the detail and the goriness and all that kind of stuff, despite not really being one of those people, even I've got a limit. And I am a little bit concerned. I'm not losing any sleep over it, and I never will. But I'm slightly concerned that graphics will get to the point one day where they're so good that it'll be hard to distinguish between real life. And then if you're forced to carry out certain actions in the game, even though it's just a game, could that have a knock-on effect for society? And could it make people turn into a maniac? I don't know. I don't know. But maybe that's a nice, an interesting topic for a vlog. Maybe we'll do that one day. I guess everyone's already done it anyway. So that's that. So next up is a game which I think if you go back maybe about a month or so, I said was due to arrive the next day after making that vid. And sure enough, it did arrive. And here it is. It's FIFA 18. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on this because it's just a football game at the end of the day. Now, this is the Ronaldo edition. So obviously it comes with his really inflated ego, and he dives and complains on the pitch every 5 minutes. No, he doesn't really. He's a brilliant player, of course he is. But I think basically with the Ronaldo edition, it just comes, I think, with just extra DLC of sorts. It says here, it includes up to 20 premium jumbo gold packs. So I think this is basically when you take the team online, is it FUT or FUT? I don't know how the kids are calling it or what they're calling it. I've tried it a little bit. I've not taken it online, no interest whatsoever, which is really funny because for someone who loves football, as I do, I love the game, the beauty of it, the freedom, the artistry behind it all, it's fantastic. But in terms of taking it online and playing against people, I have never been interested, ever. The only time I ever did it, and it was a few games, and it would have been on the original Xbox, and it was like Pro Evolution 5. Was that the one with John Terry and Thierry Henry on the front cover? It might have been 4 when I think about it. I think it was 4. Either way, 4 or 5, whatever it was. And I did that for a few games, and then I just got bored. And I don't think I've done it since. Even with friends. I don't even play with friends online with FIFA. I don't like it. I don't know why. Maybe it's the over-competitiveness that people have, and the cheating and the tactics, or maybe it's just because I don't like losing. Maybe I'm a bad loser, sore loser when it comes to football or games, full stop. But yeah, so I don't really do that, but I have played it offline, and it's quite a thrill and a bit of a buzz, I've got to be honest, when you're opening these packs, which are kind of like loot crates, like many games have these days, and seeing what players you're going to get and what like little essentials for your squad, kits and stadiums and badges, and all these other perks like contracts that you can offer for your players, etc., etc. It's quite a buzz, I've got to be honest, to see what you're going to get. But it's not something which interests me that much. If I was, say, 14 and at school, I'd love it. So I can understand why a lot of the kids do really like it. It's really not my kind of thing. Although it's okay. It's okay offline. Not going to take it online. The only other thing I'll say about this game is that FIFA 18 is resembling Pro Evolution Soccer like never before. I thought 17 was trying to copy Konami, but this really, really does. And I don't like to see that, because what I used to like about FIFA and Pro Evo was the fact that they were so different. You could differentiate between the different styles of games. FIFA was more arcade-driven, Pro Evolution was more of a simulation, and then you could choose whichever one you wanted to buy and play, depending on which style you prefer. But more and more, EA are changing. If you go back to FIFA 16, which was only just obviously a couple of years ago, that was, in the scheme of things, very fast-paced. Now, FIFA 17, I immediately noticed, in comparison to 16, slowed down a little bit. Now, it's not snail's pace, but it was noticeable. And I think this is slowing it down even more. It's still a good football game, it's still playable, but it has taken a bit of a backward step. You know, I talked earlier on about Assassin's Creed Origins taking maybe a sidewards crab kind of step. This, for me, has taken a bit of a backward step. Not massively, to the point of being critical and it being a bad game, but to the point where I'm not as happy with it as I was with 16 and maybe a few before that as well. So, yeah, for whatever reason, they're trying to copy, it seems, Konami's stance with Pro Evolution Soccer, and I don't think they should do that. I think they should stick to being a full-on arcade game, and that's that. But, you know, I'm not in charge of making the game, am I? So, it's still good. I do still like it, but if they carry on with this kind of approach into the next one, which will obviously be FIFA 19, I say obviously, having to check just in case, what year is it? Then I may start switching back to Pro Evolution. I have played the demos of the last 3 or 4 Pro Evolutions, but I've only currently own one Pro Evo on the PS4, and I think that's 2015. I think that's the one I've got. And it's okay, but like I say, it's more of a simulation, and I'm not really into that kind of style of game. Not really, I'm more of an arcadey kind of football fan. But that said, obviously it's got all the licensing, or a heck of a lot of licensing. It's got all the Premier League stadia, and that, without question, definitely adds to the immersion. So that's a good thing it's got going for it. So I'll give it that. It's a good football game. It's still FIFA. It still somewhat plays like the others. I'm just saying, I kind of prefer how it was than where it's going, as it stands anyway. And then the last Xbox One game that we've got is, I've got to be honest, before I bought this game, I was wary. I was wary for a number of reasons. One, because it hadn't been getting, and still hasn't, even though it's now out and been released, it wasn't getting a lot of attention. So that's problem number one. Why isn't it getting a lot of attention? Potential problem, which has surfaced to be a problem for the second point, is that it's not a full price game. This has been released for $29.99. That's dollars. Excuse me. So $30 is around about 22 quid. Now, I got this for $22, which again, roughly speaking, is around about, I don't know, 15 quid, give or take. So with that in mind, I'm not disappointed that I paid the price. $22, big deal, 15 quid, it's not a lot of money. So I'll show you what the game is, and then I'll talk about the game briefly. I've only played it for maybe half an hour, but already I can tell, it's not very good. That game is called Road Rage. There's the old spine. I've done the spine for a while, on any game, I think. So, yeah, basically the reason why I bought this, and you can probably even tell by just looking at it, is I thought it was going to be exactly like Road Rash. Now, Road Rash is an amazing game. For me, personally, the definitive version of Road Rash is the PS1. I know, technically speaking, is it the 3DO version? People say, well, that's the best version. Well, I don't know how. Why is it the better version? Is it slightly better frame rate or something? I don't really care about that. And I'm not going to buy a 3DO just to play Road Rash. For me, the best version, personally, is the PS1. It's where all the memories are. I love the gameplay. I just love the memories of buying the game and playing it with friends. I love the music's kind of cool. And yeah, I like the PS1 version. So I thought Road Rage was going to be basically Road Rash. And over I don't know, the last sort of 6 months, maybe longer, maybe the last year, I've kept a very close eye, albeit actually, you know, without sounding like I'm contradicting myself, from a distance. I've checked every now and again, but I have still nonetheless checked every now and again to see the progress of the game. And it's been very hard because not really many people have been talking about it. And I think basically the answer is obvious why. It's not all that. It really isn't. Think of it basically like a road rash in the sense that, yeah, you're racing or riding on a bike, and racing as well, and you hit people with your weapons. I think you upgrade. So far I've just got the standard bat or the punching or whatever I'm doing. I think it's like a baseball bat. I'm sure you can upgrade, though, as the game goes on, earning perks, earning credit and money, ranking up, all that kind of stuff. And you can get different costumes and outfits and bikes, blah, blah, blah. But it's basically a cross between Road Rash and something like Grand Theft Auto, but quite clearly a poor man's Grand Theft Auto, in the sense that, you know, it's an open world and you can pretty much go anywhere where you want. There's certain repercussions for going into certain districts. I think if you shouldn't be in there, then your wanted level goes up a little bit. So you can be in there by all means, but maybe the cops are going to be on your back straight from the off. So that's kind of interesting. At least it doesn't kind of lock out the environment completely, from what I can work out. So you can pretty much go anywhere you want. But it's just really cheap. The graphics look bad, you know, certainly for a current-gen game. With that said, there's the neon lights, the reflections, like in the on the tarmac and in the water, they can look really, really nice. But you'd sort of expect that because it's a current-gen game. So, of course, it's going to look good to a degree. But you can tell by looking at it, it's a cheap version of a modern game. And listen, at the same time, it's $30 retail, so that's like I say, 20, 22 quid. So with that in mind, it's kind of like a budget game. If you're around about my age, you'll remember the Atari ST, the Amiga, the Commodore 64, the Spectrum, the Amstrad. And back then, what we had were cheap games that were released. And you'd see them in like the petrol station or wherever. And you knew they were rubbish for the most part because you could tell by the price. Because they were cheap, you knew they were going to be a little bit dodgy, more often than not. Every now and again you'd get a gem, of course you would. And this is the equivalent of a budget game. So if you go into this game basically knowing that it's not going to be all that it's not going to have the presentation or the money pumped into it like all these big AAA games have, if you go into it with that mindset, you may cut it some slack. You may give it the benefit of the doubt. I've tried to. It's not awful. It's just not very good. It really isn't. So if you're curious, then you're still going to buy it no matter what, because you could have showed this game on video, but I still would have bought it because I've seen it for a while now, you know, a little bit on YouTube and people talking about it. And I was curious, being a big fan of Road Rash. So it doesn't matter if other people say it's rubbish. I was always going to try it myself. And you may be the same. So what I'll say is, if you can get it for like 10 quid or something, pick it up by all means. I'm just saying, it's not very good. So that's that. That's Road Rage. So I've got 2 games left on the PlayStation 4, one physical and one digital, and then there's a Switch game to show, and then a peripheral. So first of all, we'll just have a swig of tea. Long overdue. So yeah, the first game I'm going to show on the PlayStation 4, and the only physical PS4 game I've got in this vid, is Gran Turismo Sport. Now this is coming for a lot of criticism, basically because it's online. Well, not online only. The disc is in the tray of the PS4 Pro. In fact, this game was playing in my previous vid that I uploaded last night, which you may have seen. So, yes, it's not exclusively online, but it's been scaled back so significantly that it is, for all intents and purposes, almost an online game. Now, what I'll say about this is what I quite like, in theory, what they've done, Polyphony, the developers of the game, what they've done with this game is they've kind of, by taking it online, the idea is, if you're a really good driver, not necessarily good to the point of you're always winning races, but if you've got really good driving etiquette, let's put it that way, and you respect yourself, you respect everybody else who's driving, your fellow drivers, and you respect the car, you respect the track that you're on, and you're driving with etiquette, you're doing things right, you're not cutting corners, you're not bashing into people, then what this game will do, being an online-only game, is it, in theory, will put you, like I say, will put you with people who are similar to you. So you know you're not going to be in a lobby, in a race, in a league with people who are just going to ram you off the road for a laugh. Because that happens with online gaming, of course it does. It's just the way it is. You're always going to come up against immature people, kids, people who just don't care, people just want to piss you off for the sake of it, for a laugh. And, all right, fair enough, sometimes when you're young, it can be funny. But as you get older, you don't want to arse around with that. You just want to play the game. So I like that. So in theory, if I respect the road, if I respect myself and the car and my fellow drivers, and you do too, then we will be in the same league, we'll be in the same race, and you know that we're not going to go crashing into each other, and we're going to have a good, respectful race. Now, obviously, there's going to be drivers here and there who do crash into each other, but that's just human mistake. You could press the wrong button on the controller, you could look away for a second, not pay attention, and that's fine. And I think everybody accepts that's going to happen from time to time. But we're talking about deliberately, people who do it deliberately, and we want to get rid of those kind of people. It's no fun racing against people who are trying to ruin the race. So with that in mind, I like what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to have a really good experience online. So that should be commended. I think that's a good thing. But really, that aside, the problem is what they've done with this game is they've taken so much content from the single-player game and they've just removed it completely from the game. They've not even made it available offline. Some of it they have. They've just scaled back the game. In many ways, Gran Turismo Sport is like a prologue. Remember, they had a lot of prologue games on the PS3. I say a lot. Was there two, maybe? Maybe there was just one. I don't know. But where it was like a scaled-down, glorified demo, if you like, of the next upcoming Gran Turismo game. That's kind of what this is like, to a degree. So offline, you can do races against like the computer. I'm presuming, I've not tried it, you can race against like a friend or family member, whatever, in the same room, maybe online, I guess, or if it's online, I guess, well, that's not offline then, is it? I don't even think you can save your game offline, because I don't think there's anything to save. It kind of automatically saves your progress in like the driving tests, because you've kind of got to pass those to go online in the first place, I think. Where you get your trophies, gold, silver, bronze kind of thing. So it saves that, and it'll save your times, maybe. I've not checked, but I'm guessing it does, for fastest laps and all that kind of stuff. But I don't even think you can customise your car offline. It doesn't even do that. So it's severely scaled back, severely scaled back. So if you're a massive fan of Gran Turismo, the franchise in general, and you like playing offline, career modes, campaigns, you're probably going to be very disappointed with this. But if you don't mind taking it online, and hopefully, if all things go to plan, playing in leagues with people who match your skill or your driving etiquette, then you may want to give it a chance. But I do think it's a mistake. I think it's a mistake by the developers and Sony to release this game where the emphasis is so much on online. I think it's a big, big mistake. I don't mind the online aspect so much, but what they shouldn't have done is scale back the campaign. I think that's a huge mistake. Now, obviously, we live in the era where developers can add patches to games, they can take things in, they can put things, take things out again, put things in, take things out, I should say. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing, because we didn't used to have that in old games. If a game was released and there was errors or bugs with it, then we were screwed. So that's one real good positive thing about gaming. The downside, of course, is that they take their eye off the ball and they just release half-finished games. But at least they can correct it. I think people forget that sometimes. So that's a good thing about modern games. So, in my opinion, they should really go back and they should add things to this. But will it happen? It's probably not. It's a massive franchise. Do people really care that much to make a noise about it, to make them change it? I'm not sure. But with that said, of course, what we've just had, I think, in this last sort of 24, 48 hours, give or take, we've had EA and DICE, or one or the other, or both, and they've gone back and they've removed, as I understand it, the entire loot crate system from Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I think came out today or yesterday, which is really good, because a lot of people were up in arms about that, saying what an unfair advantage it was, and it was rinsing people for their money. And it looks like EA and DICE, shock horror, have listened to the public en masse, and they've taken that out of the game. Whether it's permanently taken it out, or maybe they've stopped you making those purchases temporarily while they kind of reassess it. I'm sure that's probably what it's going to be, and then they'll scale it back a little bit, so maybe it doesn't cost as much, or maybe it doesn't take as much to rank up. But whatever they're doing with it, it's a positive step, and I'm really pleased to hear that. But I won't elaborate on it for two reasons. One, because you probably know already, and two, I've not yet played the game. As I say, it's just come out, so I don't know too much about it, but I have heard the hoo-ha about it, and it's good that they've kind of changed their mind. It just goes to show that if the public, en masse, like I say, really don't like something, then people can change their mind. I'm not talking about Brexit, let's not go there. but certainly when it comes to games anyway, maybe with Brexit, who knows? Who cares? I care is what you say. Maybe you do. I forgot. Wish I never brought it up. Politics and gaming doesn't go well. So, I was going to show the Switch game there, but I remembered the PS4 digital game. So, yeah, I have bought, here we go again, For My Sins, digital game as well. So a lot of people don't like that. I get it. I understand why. But I bought the digital version, full price, $60, of Call of Duty World War II. Now, I've got to be honest, I've not yet started the campaign. I've just played it online. It's actually really good. Shock horror. I know, I can't believe I'm saying it. The last few Call of Duties have been rubbish. Advanced Warfare. Now, I've got to be honest, the campaign was quite good. I didn't mind that. Online was dreadful. I played it for an hour, hated it. And I bought that online as well. That's another I paid $60 for on my PlayStation 4. So that was a big mistake. But whatever, the campaign itself was okay. All the other campaigns since then, I've not even played. What was the last one? Was it the Call of Duty, not Ghost, that was before Advanced Warfare, wasn't it? I still haven't played that campaign. Online it was so-so. Then it was Advanced Warfare, didn't think too much of that. There's been the Black Ops 3, which I played the beta for on the Xbox One and the PS4. I've got the game on the PS4, but I didn't enjoy it online. I just didn't enjoy it. I played it for about an hour or so. Didn't like it. I think it was the boosting, the jumping around, just not my kind of thing. And then there was the remaster, wasn't there, of Call of Duty 4, which I thought I'd really get into. I bought it. I've started to play the campaign, kind of halfway through it. But it's just like, I don't know. I haven't taken it online. I've played it offline with bots and stuff, a little bit, but not for ages. I think I was really excited about it because I loved Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare when it came out on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. And I used to play it with some mates of mine, loads of us in a lobby. Almost every day for like a year we'd play that game. We gold crossed, we got to the maximum level, prestige and all that kind of stuff. We were really good at it. We were a really good clan. And I individually, personally got to be really good. I'm not like blowing my own trumpet, but I got to be really good, like reflexes and stuff. And I really loved the game because, it was a social thing as well, playing with my friends online. And so I thought, because I really loved the game on the 360 and the PS3, that I'd really, really like it when it's remastered. But the truth is, the reality is, for me, I can only speak for myself, but for me, I didn't enjoy it. It's not that it was bad. I mean, graphically, it's been touched up and looks really, really nice because it looks more, modern and current gen than ever before with modern technology. But the thing is, I've played it before. And online, I played it when it was relevant, when it was a massive game. Loads of people played Modern Warfare. And people don't want to do it anymore. Times have moved on. So, but for a minute, I thought, it'll be great. Let's go back to basics. We'll play the original Modern Warfare. And it'll be great to take it online. And it's not my thing at all. If you like it, fair enough. But for me, it's a game. Even though in the scheme of things, it was only about 10 years ago. It's not that long. But it's very much of its time. It seemed as if the developers were trying to force everybody to play it now, 10 years later. It just doesn't work. It was a great game in its time. Online, it was amazing. But it's not relevant anymore. Not for me anyway. So I'm not taking Modern Warfare online. Not even interested. And I'm not interested in going back and playing the 360 version. I loved it when it was relevant. Nostalgia, if you like, for the, I was like 26, 27 or whatever when it came out, 28, I don't know. But it's not really, it's not something I'm interested in nowadays, but it was a great game and I used to absolutely love it. But anyway, was there another one that I'm missing out? Oh yeah, what's the other one? What's the last Call of Duty? Infinite Warfare? I've got it, never played it. Basically, I only bought it because it came with Modern Warfare. That's the only reason I bought it, like many people. And I know since then they've released the game separately, which they said they weren't going to do, but we all knew they would, and they subsequently have. So, yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is the last few Call of Duties, I've not been into. If you've been watching my channel for a long, long time, you will know I used to do something called the COD files. A little bit embarrassing. And I used to play Call of Duty a little bit. I didn't make that many vids. I did a few, maybe a dozen or so. And they were never really about Call of Duty as such. I mean, the gameplay was. But I would kind of vlog, talk about random stuff. Sometimes Call of Duty, sometimes just random stuff as well. And but I used to really, really like it. But that was back in the days of really Black Ops 2. I'd say Black Ops 2 was the one I really, really played a lot of. But the one I was utterly obsessed with, I'd say would have been maybe... I mean, the last big one I was obsessed with was maybe Modern Warfare 3. So yes, I did play Black Ops. I did play Black Ops 2 quite a lot. But after that, online especially, kind of lost interest. So basically the 360 and the PS3 are my personal Call of Duty glory years, if you like. I've played them a little bit since, but I'm just not really into it anymore. But World War II, I've got to say, is really good because it harks back to an old-style Call of Duty. Boots on the ground, as all the kids are saying these days, and clearly adults as well. But I think that's a thing people like. All the jetpacks and flying around, didn't like it in the slightest. I couldn't stand it. And it's just not my thing. So going back to basics and keeping it historical, albeit, I mean, they've used artistic license, of course, here and there with the storyline. But with the whole World War II thing, it's really, really good. You've got your old school weapons, and I like it. It's good. It's scaled back. It's old school Call of Duty. And even a lot of the players, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of the players are quite respectful. It's like playing Call of Duty from years ago. It's been quite refreshing. Now, will that novelty wear off? Of course it will. I'll get bored of it very soon. But I'm really, really liking it right now. I've got to be honest. And I've put a lot of time and effort into the game. I'm not too bad, if I say so myself. Even at 39, I'm doing all right. Still winning games and stuff. Reflexes, telling you. Once you got them, you never lose them. Just saying. So, yeah. So the reason why I bought it on the PlayStation 4 is because I've got a couple of friends in particular who play it on that system. Now, I will eventually also get it on the Xbox One. That's another one which is enhanced, by the way, for Xbox One X. So it looks graphically slightly better. And the reason why I'm also going to get it for Xbox One is because, well, I know a few people who play it on the Xbox, so it would be good to play with those as well. But right now, I'm happy just to have it on the PS4. The digital thing, I guess I just wanted to play it on launch. I totally forgot it was even coming out, to be honest, so I didn't pre-order it or anything. And I've got to be honest, in my opinion, having a digital game, I understand all the pitfalls and the perks of digital gaming. Again, maybe it's a topic for another day that I can discuss on a vlog or something. But I really like the convenience factor of just going onto your PS4, pressing a button, and it's loading instantly. You don't have to get the box, you don't have to take the discount and put it in, and then take it out and put something else in. I really, really like that. I know some people don't, and you want the physical aspect. I totally get it. In an ideal world, if given the choice, yeah, I guess I probably would choose the physical game. And when it comes to retro games, for me, physical, absolutely physical only. I don't want emulation. I'm not interested at all. It's got to be physical games for my Super Nintendo, for my Amiga, for my ST. Physical all the way. But with with modern, I don't mind digital. I've got to be honest. I can see a situation in the future where, say, the PS5, for example, or the next Xbox, where I personally may consider going digital only. It doesn't come down to the boxes. For me, it comes down to pricing. If the digital games, are cheap, then I'll possibly be on board. And if they reduce in value to reflect real life prices that their physical counterparts are going for. So if they bring the prices down on digital versions to, let's say, half price of the retail, I'll probably, physical version, I'll probably be more inclined to do that. But anyway, that's a subject, like I say, another one for another day. I need another drink, bloody hell. Talking for too long. If you watched my last video yesterday, it went on for an hour, I couldn't believe it. And this one's pushing it, and it's just a bloody pickup video. How do I do this? Let's sum it up. One game, one peripheral. So that game is on the Switch, of course. It's Super Mario Odyssey. Super Mario Odyssey is absolutely fantastic. For me personally, hands down, and it's a personal thing, of course, hands down the best game on the Nintendo Switch. I love, by the way, that they've put the lyrics to, I'm guessing that's the main theme song in there. Who cares? Does anyone really want to sing along to that? I haven't wanted to so far, but wait and see in the future. I'll know all the words off by heart. But yeah, the great thing I love about this is what it made me do, and I feel almost embarrassed in a way saying it, but relieved and pleased to be able to say it, is it's the first game for a long, long time that I can almost ever remember where I've played it and I've been grinning, I've been smiling, I've been laughing, because it gives you so much fun and so much happiness and so much enjoyment. It's old school fun. It's Nintendo doing what they do best. It's not worrying about the competition. It's not worrying about PlayStation. It's not worrying about Xbox. They've got better systems. We know that. Nintendo know that. They're not as powerful. But what they have is old school, traditional fun. If you want fun with the bright kind of cartoony graphics, then Nintendo is for you. And I've really, really enjoyed this. Now, a lot of people will say Zelda is probably the best game on the Switch, maybe up until this game. And I probably would have been the same. I don't have a massive history with Zelda. Played a couple of them over the years. I've got it on the SNES, I've got it on the Switch. I played it briefly on the N64. I never really got into it. In fact, the Switch version is the one I played more than any other version. And it is good, it's a really good game. But I felt like I was kind of liking it more than I should because everyone else was saying it was great. It's still a good game, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it. But this blows it out of the water for me. Maybe because I've got more of a history with Mario, maybe that's what it is. But it is so good, there's so much to do, and it just makes you laugh, it gives you that, it brings back that fun element into gaming, which ultimately is what gaming is all about. It's about having fun, it's about having enjoyment, it's about laughing, it's not about being stressed. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's several moments in this game where it's really difficult. It lulls you into a false sense of security because early on it's extremely easy. And then the more the game goes on, the more difficult it gets. But it's never to the point that it's impossible. You know, it's testing, it's challenging. But I think it's fair. It's harsh, but fair. And I really like that as well. So there's so much to do. The game is massive. There's so many things to uncover. So many secrets to unlock. So many things in the game where I thought to myself, I wasn't even prompted by the game, but I kind of looked at something, like a part of a wall, and I thought, I wonder if I can get into that. There's something about it, just, I don't know what it was, my sixth sense was saying, I wonder if I can get in there. And then I'd use something, I don't want to reveal any spoilers, I'd use something which maybe was lying around the world, and I'd pick it up, and then I'd use it on this particular thing on the other side of the world, and it worked. It was like, bloody hell. I wasn't even prompted. The game didn't even suggest I could do it. And I discovered that secret by myself. And yeah, by all accounts, there's loads and loads of secrets to discover in this game. And that is so good for longevity, for going back to it in the future as many times as you want. It's the kind of game that you could potentially never complete. So many things to discover, totally by chance. So, yeah, waxing lyrical about the game, but I really like it. If you've got a Switch, you have to get this game. Now, listen, obviously not everyone's going to like it. Law of averages, some people just won't like it. But most people will. It's a brilliant game. For me, it's a system seller, without question. Without question, it's a system seller. Now, I'm just going to reach down here and touch this kind of peripheral, because it's going to be relevant. So, yeah, so the next thing I bought, there we go, kind of put it on. The next thing I bought, and the last thing that I'll show on this vid, because, again, pushing an hour, just obscene, it's basically a peripheral. As I said before, I think at the start of the vid, it's nothing other than cosmetic and aesthetic only. That's the only thing it does. And it's Joy-Cons. Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch. These are the luminous yellow or neon yellow to give them their proper look. So there's the box. It's the same box in all regions, I think. The funny thing about this is that this was released, I'm pretty certain, in Japan only, going back maybe 3 months ago. And on eBay, at least eBay over here in America, they were going for like $100, $120 because they look really cool. You know, they do. I like them anyway, hence buying them. And they weren't at that time released in the States. And at that time, there was no indication that they were going to be. So all the people, I'm guessing, in America and elsewhere were buying the Japanese ones for inflated prices. The Japanese box art is exactly the same. The only difference is down the side. Instead of obviously being in English, it was Japanese. And I put in a bid for $100. Someone was selling them for $120 or best offer. And the bloke turned down my offer. And I thought at the time he was being a bit greedy. But they were going for like $120. So it's crazy. So anyway, I did pay less because now these have been officially released in America. They retail, I think, for 70. It's a lot of money. And I got them for 60. So $60, 45 quid. And all they do, and I'll show it here, and you won't be able to see much because the screen's kind of dark, but all they do, and there's Mario as well in the background, they're just, it's just a cosmetic thing. They just don't do anything to the gameplay. They just look quite nice. And what I love about them, really, is it's kind of like, they're sort of Joy-Cons for all seasons. Because on one hand, they look kind of very Christmassy, which is obviously on the horizon, with the kind of bright lights and all the rest of it. But they can look very summery as well. So they can kind of work throughout the year. And I know for some it might look a little bit kind of in your face, a little bit kind of garish, the colours. Commas? Let's not go there, I don't know what I was thinking there. Swiftly move on. But yeah, the colours are very kind of garish. There's a faux pas, if ever there was one. But yeah, I think they look really, really nice. I've got to be honest. For me, you might look at it and think it looks terrible, but I really like them. Of course, they're very expensive at like kind of $60, $70. But I wanted them, and that's that. And like I say, there's Mario in the background, and you can kind of see if can I move that at all? There we go, it doesn't really do a lot. But it's a brilliant game, and I strongly urge you, if you've been thinking about getting a Switch, I strongly urge you to get one, and to get Super Mario Odyssey, because it's absolutely brilliant. So anyway, we're going to wrap that video up. Here are the games that I've bought. I've just talked about them, but I'll show them all in one big thing. And of course, there's Call of Duty, the latest one, which I forgot what you call it, World War II, on the PlayStation 4, which is good. Shock horror. I know, I can't believe I'm saying it either. But the days of me getting into Call of Duty to the levels that I was back in the day of like just a few years ago, I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I did used to really, really, really like it. But most of us did, and then we got the same, didn't it? Same old, and a lot of us got bored. So that's that. Really liking those games. Yeah, Road Rage isn't particularly great, I've got to be honest. But it's a budget game. It's made by Maximum Games, and I think they're kind of notorious. Synonymous, really, with kind of those cheap kind of games. But bear in mind, it is a budget game, and all the rest of it. Yeah, Gran Turismo is a really good game, but it's scaled back big time. Anyway, I'm just basically just repeating myself. Thank you for watching. Until my next vid, which will be sometime next week. Maybe a music vid, I guess. I've got a few things to show. Could be a vlog, could be anything. Thank you for watching. See you later.